The airport buzzed with hurried footsteps, but a sharp bark cut through the noise. A German shepherd, Max, strained against his leash, eyes fixed on a pregnant woman weaving through the crowd. Her sundress hugged her swollen belly, and her face paled as Max's barks grew frantic. "Please, control your dog," she pleaded, clutching her stomach protectively. Passengers turned, whispering, their stares heavy with suspicion. Officer Jake tightened his grip on Max's leash, his brow furrowing. Max wasn't like this. His training made him calm, precise, sniffing out drugs or weapons. But now, his hackles raised, he growled low, refusing to back down. Jake scanned the woman. She looked harmless, nervous even, her hands trembling. Was Max wrong, or was something off? "Ma'am, step aside for a moment," Jake said firmly, nodding to another officer, Sarah, who approached cautiously. The woman's eyes darted between Max and the uniforms. I haven't done anything," she stammered, her voice cracking. Her fear was palpable, but so was Max's insistence, his paws scraping the floor. Sarah exchanged a glance with Jake. "He's never acted like this," she murmured. Passengers slowed, forming a loose circle, phones discreetly recording. Jake's gut churned. Max had saved lives before, but this felt different. Was the woman hiding something dangerous, or was it a mistake? "We need to check your bag," Sarah said, her tone steady but kind. The woman nodded, tears welling, as Max's barks echoed. Jake knelt beside his partner, whispering, "What is it, boy?" Max's eyes stayed locked on her, unyielding. Whatever he sensed, it wasn't letting go. They had to act fast. The woman's hands shook as she handed her bag to Sarah, Max's barks ringing in her ears. "I swear, it's just clothes and my phone," she said, her voice barely steady. Her eyes flicked to Max, who lunged forward, straining Jake's hold. His growls deepened, teeth bared, as if the woman's scent carried a warning only he understood. Jake's pulse quickened. Max's training was flawless, bombs, narcotics, he never missed. But a pregnant woman? It didn't add up. He studied her, mid-30s, flushed cheeks, a wedding ring glinting under the fluorescent lights. She seemed ordinary, yet Max's reaction screamed danger. Sarah rifled through the bag, pulling out a sweater, a water bottle, a worn novel. Nothing suspicious. "Clear," she announced, but Max didn't relent. His claws scraped the tiles, eyes boring into the woman's belly. Jake frowned. Was it possible? Could Max sense something inside her? "Ma'am, we need you to come with us," Jake said, his tone firm but calm. The woman's breath hitched. "Why?" "I'm just catching a flight." Her voice rose, drawing more stares. A man nearby muttered, "What's she hiding?" Phones were out now, filming openly. Sarah guided her toward a private screening room, Jake and Max trailing close. The woman's steps faltered, one hand cradling her stomach. "Please, I'm 7 months along," she whispered. "I can't handle this stress." Her fear tugged at Jake, but Max's urgency overrode doubt. Inside the room, the air felt thick. Max paced, whining now, his aggression shifting to distress. Jake's stomach twisted. Max wasn't calming down. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. "Start the scan," he ordered Sarah, his voice low. They needed answers before it was too late. The screening room's fluorescent lights buzzed faintly as the woman stood, trembling, before the body scanner. Max's whines grew sharper, his body tense, circling the small space. Jake watched closely, his trust in his partner unwavering. Max had sniffed out danger before, hidden knives, smuggled powder, but this felt different, deeper, like a puzzle with missing pieces. Sarah adjusted the scanner, her voice soft. "Ma'am, any medical conditions we should know about?" The woman shook her head, strands of hair sticking to her sweaty forehead. "Just pregnant. That's all." Her words faltered, unsure, as if she sensed the weight of Max's stare. Her hands hovered over her belly, protective, fearful. Jake's eyes narrowed. Max wasn't reacting to her bag or clothes, it was her. But why? The scanner hummed, its screen flickering to life. Sarah studied it, her face unreadable. Nothing unusual, she said, but Max's low growl said otherwise. He pressed closer to the woman, nose twitching, ears flat. The woman's breathing quickened. "Please, let me go," she whispered, tears spilling. "I just want to get home." Her voice cracked, raw with panic. Jake's heart tugged. She looked innocent, desperate, but Max's instinct screamed louder. Passengers' murmurs seeped through the door, their curiosity a dull roar. "Run it again," Jake said, his tone clipped. Sarah nodded, resetting the machine. Max's whines turned frantic, paws scratching the floor. Jake knelt beside him, feeling the dog's tension. "What's wrong, boy?" he murmured. Max's eyes locked on the woman's belly, unwavering. Then, a sharp gasp. The woman clutched her stomach, her face twisting in pain. "No, not now," she moaned, sinking to her knees. Jake's blood ran cold. Max's distress wasn't random, something was happening. "Call medics," he barked. Time was slipping away. The woman crumpled against the wall, her gasps ragged, hands gripping her belly. Max's whines pierced the air, his body rigid, eyes darting between her and Jake. The German shepherd's distress was palpable, his usual calm replaced by a restless urgency that set Jake's nerves on edge. "Stay with me, ma'am," Sarah urged, kneeling beside her, but the woman's face contorted, sweat beading on her brow. Jake's radio crackled. "Medics en route, 2 minutes." 2 minutes felt like forever. Max pressed closer, sniffing the air, his growls softening into anxious whimpers. Jake's mind raced. Max had never been wrong, but a medical emergency? Could he sense that? The woman's moans grew sharper, her eyes wide with terror. "It hurts, so much," she whispered, tears streaming. Sarah checked her pulse, frowning. "It's racing." The scanner stood forgotten, its hum fading into the background. Outside, passengers pressed against the glass, their muffled voices a mix of concern and curiosity. Jake caught a glimpse of flashing phone screens. Whatever happened, it was already spreading. "Tell me what's wrong," Jake said, his voice steady despite the chaos. The woman shook her head weakly. "I don't know. It's too early." Her words broke, raw with fear for her baby. Max nudged her hand, his nose grazing her belly, and she flinched, startled by his closeness. Jake's gut twisted. Max wasn't aggressive now, just desperate, like he knew something they didn't. "Hold on," he told her, his eyes meeting Sarah's. "We're getting help." But doubt crept in. Was help enough? Max's whimpers grew louder, almost pleading. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Whatever Max sensed, it was worse than they feared. They were running out of time. The woman's breaths came in shallow bursts, her hands clutching her belly as pain etched lines across her face. Max paced the screening room, his whines now a low, mournful hum, his eyes never leaving her. Jake felt a chill. Max's behavior wasn't about drugs or weapons. This was something primal, urgent, like a warning carved in instinct. Sarah supported the woman's shoulders, her voice calm but tight. "Breathe, ma'am. Help's almost here." The woman nodded weakly, her lips trembling. "My baby, please," she gasped, her voice barely audible. Tears mingled with sweat, pooling on her chin. Jake's chest tightened. She was fighting for 2 lives. Max stopped pacing, his nose inches from her belly, sniffing intently. His ears twitched, and a soft growl rumbled, not threatening but distressed. Jake crouched beside him, hand on his fur. "What is it, Max?" he whispered. The dog's gaze was unwavering, locked on the woman's midsection like it held a secret. The door burst open, and 2 paramedics rushed in, their kits clattering. "What's her status?" the lead medic, a woman with sharp eyes, demanded. Sarah rattled off vitals: pulse erratic, severe abdominal pain, 7 months pregnant. The medic knelt, pressing a stethoscope to the woman's belly. Her face hardened. "We need to move, now." Jake stepped back, Max at his side, still whining. The woman gripped Sarah's hand, her eyes pleading. "Don't let my baby die," she sobbed. The words hit Jake like a punch. Max nudged forward, his nose brushing her arm, as if urging her to hold on. The paramedics lifted her onto a stretcher, movements swift but careful. Max's whimpers followed them, echoing in Jake's ears. Something was terribly wrong, and Max knew it first. The paramedics wheeled the woman out, her moans fading into the airport's chaos. Max strained against Jake's grip, his whimpers sharp, desperate to follow. Jake's heart pounded. Max's instincts had never led them astray, but this wasn't a bomb or contraband. It was life and death, and time was slipping away. Sarah jogged beside the stretcher, relaying details to the medics. Sudden pain, no known conditions, 7 months pregnant. The lead medic, scanning a monitor, frowned. Her vitals are crashing, possible hemorrhage. The woman's eyes fluttered, her hand clutching the stretcher's edge. "My baby," she whispered, voice frail. Passengers parted like a sea, phones raised, capturing every moment. Jake ignored their stares, his focus on Max, whose nose twitched, tracking the woman's scent even from yards away. The dog's distress mirrored Jake's own, a gnawing fear that they weren't moving fast enough. Outside, the ambulance waited, its red lights slicing through the dusk. The woman's face was ghostly pale, her breath shallow. "Stay with us," the second medic urged, adjusting an oxygen mask. Max broke free, darting to the stretcher, his nose grazing her hand. She stirred, eyes meeting his, a flicker of gratitude amidst her pain. Jake caught Max's collar, pulling him back gently. "Easy, boy." But Max's whines grew frantic, his body trembling. The medic paused, glancing at the dog. "He's been like this the whole time?" she asked. Jake nodded. Her eyes narrowed, pressing her hand to the woman's belly again. "Something's off, fetal distress, maybe worse." The stretcher rolled into the ambulance, doors slamming. Max's barks echoed as the sirens wailed to life. Jake's stomach churned. Max had sounded the alarm, but was it already too late? The truth was still out of reach. The ambulance sped away, its sirens a fading wail against the airport's hum. Max stood rigid, ears perked, his eyes locked on the vanishing lights. Jake's hand rested on his fur, feeling the dog's trembling. Max's barks had stopped, replaced by a low, anxious whine that cut deeper than any growl. Something was still wrong. Sarah caught up, her face taut. "They're rushing her to St. Mary's. Medics think it's more than labor complications." Jake's jaw clenched. Max had sensed it first, but what? A medical scanner missed it, yet his dog hadn't. He glanced at the crowd. Passengers lingered, some filming, others whispering about the crazy dog. "Jake, what's Max picking up?" Sarah asked, her voice low. He shook his head. "I don't know, but he's never wrong." Max nudged Jake's leg, urging him toward the patrol car. The dog's insistence was clear, "Follow her." Jake's gut agreed. They couldn't let this go. They piled into the car, Max in the back, his nose pressed to the window. Jake floored it, weeding through traffic, the hospital 10 minutes away. "Call St. Mary's," he told Sarah. "Get an update." She dialed, her face grim as she listened. "She's in critical condition, possible internal bleeding. They're prepping for surgery." Jake's grip tightened on the wheel. Max's whines grew sharper, like he felt the woman's pain across the distance. The title's words haunted Jake. Too late. Had they acted fast enough? He pictured her terrified eyes, her plea for her baby. Max had seen the danger first, but understanding it was slipping through their fingers. Red lights blurred past. Max's tail flicked, restless. Jake's heart raced. They were chasing a truth only the dog seemed to know, and every second counted. The hospital's fluorescent glow loomed as Jake screeched into the lot, Max's whines filling the car. The German Shepherd leapt out, nose to the ground, tugging Jake toward the ER doors. Sarah followed, phone pressed to her ear, relaying updates. "She's in surgery now, emergency C-section." "It's touch and go," she said, her voice strained. Jake's chest tightened. Max's urgency hadn't faded, his ears twitched, tracking sounds only he could hear. The ER buzzed, nurses darted, monitors beeped, but Max zeroed in on a hallway, pulling Jake past gurneys. "Slow down, boy," Jake muttered, but Max's focus was unrelenting, like a compass locked on danger. A doctor emerged, scrubs speckled with blood, his face grim. "You the officers with the dog?" he asked. Jake nodded. "She's got a uterine rupture, rare, life-threatening. We're fighting for her and the baby." Jake's blood ran cold. Max had known, somehow, before anyone. Max whined, pawing at the floor, his eyes fixed down the hall where surgical doors stood shut. Jake knelt, stroking his fur. "You tried, buddy," he whispered, but Max's restlessness didn't ease. Sarah touched Jake's shoulder. "How did he sense it?" "Scanners missed it." Jake shook his head, lost. "He just did." A nurse rushed by, her voice clipped. "We need more O-negative blood." The urgency snapped Jake upright. Max's tail flicked, his nose sniffing the air, catching traces of something: fear, blood, life hanging by a thread. The crowd from the airport had dwindled, but a few lingered, phones out, drawn by the drama. Jake's mind raced. Max's warning had gotten her here, but the doctor's words echoed, fighting for both. Was it enough? Max's low growl said no. The truth was still unfolding, and time was their enemy. The hospital hallway felt suffocating, sterile air thick with tension. Max sat by Jake's side, his whine softer now but no less urgent, his eyes locked on the surgical doors. Jake's fingers grazed Max's fur, grounding himself against the dread coiling in his gut. The doctor's words, uterine rupture, life-threatening, looped in his mind. Max had sensed it, but how? Sarah paced, checking her phone. "No updates yet," she muttered. A faint tremor in her voice betrayed her calm. Jake glanced at Max, whose ears flicked at every distant sound: beeps, footsteps, muffled voices. The dog's instincts were a beacon, but the truth they pointed to remained shrouded. A nurse hurried past, her shoes squeaking. Jake caught her arm. "Any news on the woman from the airport?" She shook her head, eyes weary. "They're still in there. It's bad, really bad." Max's whine spiked, as if he understood. Jake's stomach sank. Too late, the title taunted. He pictured the woman's terrified face, her plea, "My baby." Max had reacted to her belly, not her bag, not her words, her body's silent alarm. Jake's jaw tightened. "He knew before we did," he told Sarah, nodding at Max. She frowned. "Like a medical alert dog?" "Maybe, but Max was trained for threats, not illness." A janitor mopped nearby, stealing glances. "That dog's something else," he said. "Saved her, didn't he?" Jake didn't answer. Had Max saved her, or just delayed the inevitable? The door stayed shut, silent. Max nudged Jake's hand, his nose warm, insistent. "Okay, boy," Jake whispered, standing. They couldn't leave, not yet. The dog's restless energy pulsed, pulling them closer to the truth. But as minutes dragged, fear grew. What if Max's warning came too late to change her fate? The hospital clock ticked mercilessly, each second stretching Jake's nerves thinner. Max lay at his feet, head raised, eyes fixed on the surgical doors like a sentinel. His whines had quieted, but his tail flicked restlessly, sensing what Jake couldn't. The air felt heavy, charged with unspoken fears. Sarah sat nearby, scrolling her phone, then froze. "Jake, look, videos from the airport are trending." Jake glanced at her screen, grainy footage of Max barking, the woman's terrified face, captions screaming "hero dog" and "pregnant woman in danger." His stomach churned. The world was watching, but they didn't know the half of it. Max's ears twitched, catching a faint cry from beyond the doors. Jake's pulse spiked, hope or heartbreak. A doctor emerged, mask dangling, his face unreadable. Jake stood, Max rising with him, alert. "She's stable, for now," the doctor said. "The rupture was worse than we thought. We delivered the baby, but," he hesitated, eyes heavy. "The infant's critical, NICU. She's asking for the dog." Jake's throat tightened. Max saved her life, but the baby? He pictured her trembling hands, her plea for her child. Max nudged his leg, whining softly, as if he felt the weight too. Can we see her? Jake asked. The doctor nodded. Briefly. They followed him down the hall, Max's claws clicking on the tiles. Sarah trailed, whispering, he gave them a chance. But Jake wasn't sure. Too late, the title echoed, mocking their efforts. Max's nose twitched, catching scents of antiseptic, blood, life hanging fragile, the door to her room loomed. Max's tail flicked, eager yet cautious. Jake braced himself. What would they find? A mother's gratitude, or a grief Max's warning couldn't stop. The truth waited just beyond, sharp and unyielding. The hospital room door creaked open, revealing the woman, pale and fragile, in a tangle of tubes and wires. Max's ears perked, his body tensing as he stepped forward, nose twitching at the sterile air. Jake held his leash loosely, his heart thudding. Her eyes, heavy with exhaustion, lit up faintly when she saw Maxu, she whispered, voice hoarse. Jake paused, struck by her frailty. Machines beeped steadily, a lifeline tethering her to hope. Max approached her bed, his tail low, cautious. She reached out, trembling fingers grazing his fur. Thank you, she choked, tears spilling. Max leaned into her touch, a soft whine escaping, as if he understood her gratitude, and her pain. Sarah stood by the door, eyes glistening. She's alive because of him, she murmured. Jake nodded, but the doctor's words gnawed, the infant's critical. He cleared his throat. Ma'am, your baby, they're fighting for them. Her face crumpled, a sob breaking free. I named her Lily, she whispered. Please, let her be okay. Max rested his head on the bed, eyes locked on her, steady and warm. Jake marveled, his partner, trained for danger, now offered comfort. He knew something was wrong, Jake said. Got you here in time. She nodded, clutching Max's fur. He's my angel. A nurse entered, her voice gentle. Time to rest. Jake hesitated, glancing at Max, who seemed reluctant to leave. The woman's hand lingered on the dog, her lifeline in the chaos. Tell Lily about him, she said, voice breaking. As they stepped back, Max whined, glancing toward the NICU's direction. Jake's chest ached, Lily's fight wasn't over. Max's warning had saved one life, but the shadow of too late lingered, heavy with what might still be lost. Jake led Max down the hospital's dim corridor, the German shepherd's steps deliberate, nose twitching toward the NICU. The woman's words, tell Lily about him, echoed in Jake's mind, a fragile hope tethered to her daughter's fight. Max's ears flicked, catching faint cries behind a glass wall where tiny incubators glowed. Jake's heart clenched. Was Lily among them? Sarah caught up, her face taut. The doctor's updating us soon, she said, but her voice wavered. Max pressed against the NICU door, whining softly, his eyes searching. Jake knelt, stroking his fur. You did everything, boy, he whispered, but Max's restlessness screamed otherwise, like he sensed a battle unfinished. A doctor approached, her scrubs wrinkled, eyes weary but kind. Lily's holding on, she said. She's premature, weak, but stable for now. Your dog, he gave her a chance. Jake exhaled, relief tinged with dread. Stable wasn't safe. Max's tail flicked, his nose grazing the door, urging them closer. Jake peered through the glass, spotting a tiny form swaddled in tubes, Lily, fighting silently. Max's whine deepened, almost mournful, as if he felt her fragility. Can he see her? Jake asked, surprising himself. The doctor hesitated, then nodded. Just for a moment. They entered, the NICU's hum enveloping them. Max moved carefully, stopping by Lily's incubator. His nose twitched, eyes soft, like he was guarding her. Jake's throat tightened. Max had sounded the alarm, but this fight was Lily's now. Sarah touched his arm. He's still with them, she said. As they left, Max glanced back, reluctant. Jake's mind swirled, had Max's warning been enough, or was too late still lurking? One truth remained: Max's heart beat for both mother and child, and their story wasn't over yet.